Welcome back everyone. So today is our lecture 2 for this QEEE program on this topic of earth pressure on retaining structures. Myself Dipankar Chaudhary, Professor of Civil Engineering Department of IIT Bombay. So let us start where we have stopped during yesterday's lecture. We were discussing about various theories of earth pressures, and for that first we started with Rankin's earth pressure theory, and then we have seen the derivation for the C5 soil or cohesive frictional soil. So if we look back yesterday's derivation over here, the distribution of earth pressure behind a retaining wall for active state of earth pressure is something like this when both C and phi are present. And from that concept we have seen that there is a zone of tension crack and the depth of zone for tension crack is ZC. And we have also mentioned that critical height or the vertical critical height, which does not require any kind of support, is nothing but 2 times of ZC, which we call as HC. But I have also mentioned that this is the theoretical estimation. Now let us look back to the slide. So this is what we have derived already in previous class, that total active earth pressure is given by this expression, and the point where we are getting Pa equals to 0, that is nothing but where this condition of zone of tensile crack is coming into picture. That gives us the double of that, gives us the value of critical depth, which is given by this expression. Now this indicates that a vertical bank of height which is smaller than this critical height can stand of its own if it is a cohesive backfill like this. But Terzaghi later on he found out from actual field analysis that it is not always so in the field. Then he has proposed an equation or modified equation for this height of critical vertical cut HC as an expression of this 4C by gamma root over Ka minus that zone of tension crack. Now this zone of tension crack, he also found out it is almost close to half of this total critical height of the vertical crack. So in that way, if we further extend it, what we can get, let me come back to this derivation. What we can mention over here, that as per Terzaghi, this height of critical vertical cut is given by 4C by gamma, then tan 45 degree plus phi by 2. This is the theoretical expression, but minus Z critical or Z naught is the equation which is given by Terzaghi. Now as per Rankin theory, we got this value of ZC, which is equals to 2C by gamma, then tan of 45 degree plus phi by 2. That is as per Rankin's theory. So if we put this over here, then Terzaghi's theory of critical vertical height is nothing but this 2C by gamma tan of 45 plus phi by 2. Now which is also not fully correct, because as per Terzaghi, the value of this ZC is approximately equal to this half of HC. That is through the field observations as reported by Terzaghi. So now if you apply this ZC as half of HC in this equation, what we will get, then we take it over here. So 3 by 2 HC becomes this one. So finally, as per Terzaghi's theory, the critical height of vertical cut can be estimated as 2.67 by C by gamma, then tan of 45 degree plus 5 by 2. That we can see directly by putting ZC as half of HC. So this is what the actual or practical value of vertical cut, which does not require any kind of support in C5 soil. Now if you have a phi equals to 0 soil, so essentially phi equals to 0 soil means pure cohesive soil. That is one case. And another case of possibility of phi equals to 0 when it is completely undrained condition, because in previous lecture I have mentioned for undrained condition it is nothing but K is equals to 1. So in such case, a special case of phi equals to 0 will give us HC value equals to 2.67 C by gamma. So this is for pure cohesive soil. This is the critical height of vertical cut. Now let us switch back to the slides over here. So if you look here, that this is the most generalized condition which already we have discussed in previous lecture, that a retaining wall under active state of earth pressure subjected to surcharge, then cohesion is also present. It is a cohesive frictional soil, C5 soil. Then we have earth pressure distribution like this. This is due to the surcharge component, this is due to the cohesion component, and this is due to the unit weight component. And if you want to take for design what value of earth pressure we should consider for such kind of soil or backfill material which is cohesive cum frictional, as you can see, theoretically we said that this negative portion or tensile zone balances out some positive zone. But Tarzagi's definition of critical vertical height etc. and actual field observation says that it is not fully correct that HC equals to 2 times of Z0, because soil cannot take tension. So in that case, if you want to design your retaining wall for certain amount of thrust, for which thrust you will design, theoretically you should have designed for this hashed zone, because this positive zone has been nullified or compensated or balanced by this negative zone. But reality it doesn't happen because soil cannot take tension. So instead of neglecting this part, it is advisable that you take this part also, and then accordingly you design your wall for this full positive zone but without neglecting this place. So that means height of your earth pressure you should consider as this total height of the wall minus this only critical tension depth or the zone of tensile crack only you have to neglect. Remaining all portions you should consider the active earth pressure which is acting on the wall, and accordingly you should design your wall under such C5 soil condition under active state using Rankine theory. Now if water table is also present in the system, then accordingly we have to add the pressure due to water. And in the previous class itself I have mentioned that always calculate the earth pressure diagram first, considering the effective unit weight, because that is what related to the earth component, and Ka or active earth pressure coefficient, which is a function of soil parameters. And if it is for water, then that value of Ka becomes 1. That also we have seen. So we have to add that water pressure separately with this earth pressure to get the total pressure acting on the wall. Let us see what are the limitations of this Rankine's earth pressure theory. So the Rankine formula for passive pressure can only be used correctly when the embankment slope angle equals 0 or it is negative. If a large wall friction angle value can develop, then Rankine theory is not correct and it gives a less conservative result. Rankine theory is not intended to be used for determining earth pressure directly against a wall, because friction angle does not appear anywhere in the equation, because the basic assumption of Rankine theory we have seen the wall is smooth and vertical, and the theory is intended to be used for determining earth pressure on a vertical plane within the soil mass, that is not for an inclined plane. So if we want to see a special case of application of Rankine theory for an inclined wall, how we apply, let us see. So suppose we have a rigid retaining wall which is having a cross-sectional view like this, and this is the backfill soil. This is suppose active state I am considering. Now Rankine theory says that you can compute the earth pressure only on a vertical plane. So draw an imaginary vertical plane from this point and find out what is your active earth pressure from Rankine theory from this side, and then how you will get the design earth pressure on this inclined wall. Take the weight of this zone, let us say A, B, D. So this zone weight you take W and then take resultant of these two force PA and W, which will give you the design pressure of active resultant, let us say. So for that pressure you have to design this wall if you want to apply the Rankine theory for inclined wall. So this is the only way which can be adopted at practice for design of retaining wall which is having a non-vertical back face like this. So to avoid the assumptions or limitations of Rankine theory, a better theory actually was given earlier, that is before Rankine theory came into picture, that is Coulomb's wedge theory. So Coulomb's wedge theory was developed by Coulomb in 1776, and it provides a method of analysis that gives the resultant horizontal force on a retaining system for any slope of wall or wall friction angle, slope of backfill provided. Now let us see what are the assumptions in Coulomb's earth pressure theory or wedge theory. The assumptions are like the backfill is dry, cohesionless. That is, first Coulomb has developed his earth pressure theory for cohesionless soil only. Later on it was extended for conventional or generalized C5 soil also. I will discuss that as well. So, but first derivation was for cohesionless soil, then soil was considered as homogeneous, isotropic, then ideally plastic material and elastically undeformable but breakable. The slip surface is a plane surface which passes through the heel of the wall. So this is an important assumption which is involved in the Coulomb's wedge theory, because in Rankine theory we have seen that slip plane or slip surface or a failure surface, we got it directly from the Mohr circle, and which are inclined at 45 plus 5/2 or 45 minus 5/2 depending on active or passive case. But in this case Coulomb assumed that back of the wall, each of the point can be considered as heel of the wall, and then from that point you have to assume a planar failure surface. So Coulomb considered a planar failure surface, and the wall was considered as rough wall. So this is an advantage over Rankine theory, because Rankine theory considers only smooth wall. Here rough wall was considered by Coulomb. So the resultant earth pressure on the wall is inclined at an angle of delta. This delta is nothing but is called the friction angle between the two different materials, that is wall material and the backfill soil. So with respect to that angle delta and normal to the wall, this earth pressure will act as per Coulomb's wedge theory. Also Coulomb assumed that the sliding wedge itself acts as a rigid body. That means it is a rigid body movement of one block over the other, and the value of the earth pressure is obtained by considering the limiting equilibrium condition of the sliding wedge as a whole with respect to the remaining portion of the soil. So the position and the direction of the resultant earth pressure are known for the case of Coulombic earth pressure. How, I will come to that very soon when I will explain the methodology. The resultant pressure which acts on the back of the wall, it acts at 1/3 of the height of the wall from the base, and it is inclined at an angle of delta which is normal to the back, and this angle is called angle of wall friction. Now the back of the wall was considered as rough, and the relative movement of the wall and the soil on the back takes place, which develops frictional forces that influence the direction of the resultant pressure. Now in Coulomb's wedge theory, analysis procedure is first a planar failure surface was assumed, then the lateral force which is required to maintain the equilibrium of the wedge was found out by using the principle of static, and the procedure has been repeated for several number of trial failure surfaces, so that the optimized value, either minimum or maximum, of the earth pressure as per the requirement of design can be obtained. The trial surface, which gives the largest force for the active case and the smallest force for the passive case, are actual failure surface as per the Coulomb's theory. So that means for the active state of earth pressure, we have to maximize the design value or maximize the earth pressure force for active case, whereas for passive case we have to minimize it. Why it is so? Because remember, yesterday I have explained clearly, this is among the three types of earth pressure. Active earth pressure is the lowest one, then intermediate one is at rest, and maximum one is passive earth pressure as far as the value is concerned. Now, active earth pressure is the pressure or thrust which soil provides on the wall, and we want that active state to generate because this is the lowest value among all the three earth pressure values. But when you are designing your wall, what you want to do as a designer, you would like to have the maximum value of that earth pressure which is acting on your wall. So that's why, though the active earth pressure value is the minimum among three, but for design you have to maximize it, or you have to find out the maximum possible value of the active earth pressure which provides the limiting equilibrium condition. On the other hand, passive earth pressure, among the three earth pressure, this is the maximum value or maximum number it will give, but for the design we want to minimize it. Why we want to minimize? Look at the actual terminology, as I said in previous class, that it is passive earth resistance, which is the resistance provided by the soil to the wall. So as far as resistance of the soil is concerned, for design or for the critical condition or the for worst scenario, we should minimize that value. So that is the reason why for passive case we have to find out the minimum. Let us see the first Coulomb's active earth pressure in cohesionless soil. So essentially what Coulomb had developed. So this is the rigid retaining wall, and for Coulombic analysis it is not necessary that the vertical face of the wall should be a vertical one. That is, it can be an inclined wall also, which is difference from the Rankine theory. In Rankine theory it says it has to be vertical. So here you can have an inclined surface of the wall, and this is the angle which is nothing but called wall friction angle. That is the friction between this wall material and this backfill soil material. So that's why some frictional force develops over here, and this angle is nothing but, if you take a normal to this wall surface, with respect to that normal, your active earth pressure will act at an angle of delta inclination, which has marked over here as positive delta. I will explain that also in a little while, that what is positive delta or positive wall friction angle means. Now what Coulomb says, that this heel of the wall is can be considered as the starting point of the failure surface, and it will be a planar failure surface. So you can assume various numbers of planar rupture surface or planar failure surface, we also call it as rough surface, as many as possible. So these are various possible planar surface you can assume. That means at different values of this alpha, which is the inclination of your assumed failure plane with respect to horizontal. So that alpha value is not known to you, but for a chosen failure plane it is a known value for you. So for optimization, what we say, for active earth pressure you have to maximize, or you have to find out the maximum possible value of PA, where this and at what value of alpha it is occurring, that also you need to obtain, because that gives you the design value of active earth pressure. Now what are the forces acting on this failure wedge? As Coulomb's analysis suggests, that this is the failure wedge or failure block. That's why Coulomb's wedge theory it is called. ABD is the wedge. This wedge is failing with respect to the surrounding soil over here, and this is the wall portion. So there is a relative movement between this wall and the soil. So because of that relative movement, you can see over here the forces acting now in the system is weight of this failure zone or failure wedge, W. This side is the active earth pressure, and this side you have the soil reaction, that is the interface movement between this block of soil failure with respect to the surrounding stable soil zone. So this is the resistance or soil reaction which is acting at an angle of phi with respect to normal to this failure surface. So now these three forces, these are concurrent forces and coplanar forces. So that means all these three forces must pass through a single point. That's what the concurrent forces means, and it satisfies automatically being concurrent forces the moment equilibrium equation. Now Coulomb has considered other two equilibrium conditions, that is vertical force equilibrium and horizontal force equilibrium. So if you consider the force equilibrium of three forces, essentially what you are trying to find out, you want to find out the closed force polygon out of those four systems. So in this case it is a closed force triangle comprising of the W, R and PA. Now among these three, as it was mentioned in the assumption or in the previous slide, I was telling you that directions and magnitude of some of these forces are known. So what are the known parameters and what are the unknown parameters? Let us try to find out. For a chosen value of your alpha or assumed value of your alpha, you know what is the area of this ABD from which the backfill property etc. is known to you. So you can compute the value of W very easily. So W is known as far as its value is concerned as well as its direction is concerned. So for this force, we know both the quantity as well as the direction. So when you are drawing the force polygon, you can always plot this force vector using a suitable scale as per the proper vector scale, whatever you have chosen. That W value you can plot because direction of W will be vertically downward, that is known, and the magnitude is also you have computed for a chosen failure angle. Now what happened to this PA and R? Let us see. So for this PA, that is active earth pressure, we don't know the value because that's what we want to find out, how much active earth pressure is acting on the wall. But what do we know here is we know about its line of action. How do we know its line of action? Because of the frictional angle between wall and soil, it has to act at an angle of delta with respect to the normal to the surface of the wall. So that's why this inclination or this line of action of the force PA is known to us. So from this point, one can draw a line following this angle, various angles over here. And also what do we know about R? For R also, we don't know the value, but we know its direction. How do we know its direction? As I said, it has to act at an angle of phi with respect to the normal to this plane because this is the same backfill material. So this angle of interface between the two is nothing but the friction angle of the soil. So this will be phi. So for the R also line of action is known, but the magnitude is not known. So from the other tip of this force diagram, you can draw a line knowing all these angles, the line of action of R. Now drawing these two lines of action which are known to you, they will intersect at some time, at some point, and that point of intersection essentially will make it a closed force polygon or force triangle. From that you will get the magnitude of both PA and R. We are interested here about to find out the value of PA. So essentially you will get the value of PA directly from this force polygon. Now how further this analysis Coulomb has extended, let us see. So I have explained these things already. Now some points one should remember very carefully, that for most of the practical cases, the Coulomb's active earth pressure theory, what is obtained theoretically and practically are more or less same, or there is hardly any significant changes in the two values as also observed experimentally by Terzaghi later on. But if the friction angle delta value exceeds the 2/3 of friction angle of the backfill soil, then the failure surface of planar is a kind of gross approximation. For active state, this is not too gross an approximation, but for passive case, we will see later on that it is a very high approximation if we consider a planar failure surface. So that's why if you look here, this is the assumed planar failure surface by Coulomb, whereas this is the probable curvilinear or nonlinear or curved failure surface which actually happens at field. So now coming back to this derivation of active earth pressure, force polygon, the closed force polygon, what we got already, you can see over here that we have three forces, PA, W and R. Now we can apply the law of sine. That means the force vector PA divided by the sine of angle opposite to this PA. So that means PA divided by sine of this angle equals to W divided by sine of this angle equals to R divided by sine of this angle. So applying that law of sine, what we can write down that W by this equals to PA by this. Now among these, W is known, all these directional angles are known to us, this is also known to us. So unknown value of PA we can easily obtain by using this expression, which is very simple, just equilibrium of forces in horizontal and vertical direction essentially. Further, remember this value of PA what you have obtained by this method of force equilibrium is for a particular chosen or assumed value of that failure plane angle alpha. So this alpha is an assumed value. How we will know that that assumption is correct or not? That's why we said for design purpose we have to maximize this value of PA because that is the most critical condition. So if we want to maximize this value of PA, which is a function of this angle alpha which is assumed, we have to do this differentiation, that is d of PA by d of alpha, we should make it 0 from the expression of PA which you have obtained from the force equilibrium equation. Now from this condition one can easily maximize the value of PA, and at what value of alpha that occurs, that also can be obtained. So this is by mathematically you can get the value of PA, graphically also you can get the value of PA in similar way. Now once you get the value of your total active thrust which is acting on the wall is given by this one, and it is for a special case of vertical wall, no wall friction and with a horizontal backfill surface, that equation you can express in the similar form of the Rankine's equation, that means PA equals to half Ka gamma h square. So how this active earth pressure coefficient Ka then will take shape, or for Coulomb's analysis how will be the expression of Ka be represented, then by putting this equation of PA you can always get the expression of Ka, that is coefficient of active earth pressure under Coulomb's earth pressure theory or wedge theory. Now the same theory of Coulomb's wedge theory, if we want to apply it for the passive case, what are the changes or what are the forces acting? Let us see what Coulomb has assumed. Again, this is a rigid retaining wall and wall is moving now towards the backfill side. Coulomb again said that the heel of the wall can be considered at the starting point of the failure plane, and again a planar failure surface was considered. So this is an assumed failure plane at an angle of alpha. This alpha is assumed, and for the case of passive, this wall friction angle delta for the positive case, it will act in the other side, like whatever normal to the wall you have, the other side this passive earth pressure will act. Why it is so? Because of the relative movement between your soil and the wall. And essentially for the same reason, this rigid portion of the soil is moving, which is failing, or failure mass we are talking about, with respect to the remaining unfailed zone of the soil. So these also rigid body movement. Here also due to the relative movement of the two portions of the soil reaction will come on the other side, unlike active case. So this is the normal to the plane. This side the reaction force, soil reaction force R will act at an angle of phi. Now in this case also the same condition we can apply. That means these are the three force system, that is weight of the failure zone, soil reaction and the passive pressure, and among these three, about W or weight of the failure zone, we know everything in a sense. We know about its value, that is quantity, as well as we know about this force vector, the line of its action or direction, because it is acting vertically downward. So again, if you want to solve it graphically, you can always draw a closed force polygon or closed force triangle in this manner as we have done for the active state, Or if you want to solve it mathematically, then also you can solve, because you can calculate the value of W very easily for an assumed value of this alpha failure angle, and then you get the value of W, and line of action of R is known, but the value is not known initially. Also for PP, the line of action is known, but the value is unknown, which we are trying to find out. So if you draw this line of action from this W in this force polygon, wherever they meet, that is the point of closed force triangle, and that gives you the value of the design value of PP. Now I will not say that this is a design value. I will say this is a value of PP for a chosen value of alpha. Now how we will get the design value of passive earth pressure? As I said, for passive case we have to optimize it towards the minimum value of PP, because that is the most critical condition, because it is the earth resistance which is provided to the wall. So to get that, we can assume again many numbers of failure plane like this from this hill point at different values of alpha. So if you do that, at what value of alpha this PP you get minimum, that is nothing but gives you the design value of passive earth pressure. So mathematically, if we see the same thing, we can say we have to differentiate that PP with respect to the function of alpha, and we have to get the minimum value, and the final expression for PP can be given like this. And if we put in the same formula for the Rankine state, whatever we have used, that is PP equals to half Kp gamma h square, then Kp, that is coefficient of passive earth pressure for Coulomb's analysis, will be given by this expression, as we can see easily. Now let us see that graphically how this Coulomb's method can be applied. There are various methods of graphical solution for lateral earth pressure. Among those, Kalman's graphical solution is the most popular one. Then trial wedge method and logarithmic spiral method, other solution for the lateral earth pressure. So when we now discuss about the Kalman's graphical solution procedure, let us now draw this and find out how the active state of earth pressure can be obtained from Coulomb's theory. Kalman's graphical solution for active earth pressure. Let us say the active state of earth pressure. How do we solve this? First, let us say the rigid retaining wall is given like this. We can take a generalized system where this is an inclined backfill at some inclination, let us say beta, and the face of the retaining wall is also an inclined face. So essentially what Coulomb has considered for Coulomb's wedge theory, the same thing we are taking over here. Now Kalman's graphical solution method is nothing but based on the Coulomb's theory. That is, whatever force polygon or force triangle we have seen in the Coulomb's solution, the same thing we are going to apply over here. Now how to apply that? What are the steps? Let us see one by one. If this is the horizontal line, first we should draw this line from this point. I am putting the arrow, that is the steps by which we should draw it. This is at an angle of phi. Phi is nothing but friction angle for this backfill material. This line is called as slope line. Now from this slope line, now next what we said, that this side where active earth pressure acts, if this is the normal to the surface of this backside of retaining wall, then our active earth pressure acts at an angle of delta, and delta is the wall friction angle that we have seen. Now with respect to vertical, if we say this angle is given by theta, then this angle of theta we should draw from this slope line towards this direction. That means what I said, from this line next we are drawing this, which is nothing but angle theta. So from this horizontal line, first we have drawn at an angle of phi slope line. Then from that slope line we are coming back in this direction at an angle of theta, and this line is known as earth pressure line. Earth pressure line. Now what we do? As the Coulomb's analysis says that we have to take number of failure planes from this heel of the wall, and for each failure plane we have to find out how much is the value of PA, and then we have to optimize it, that is find out the maximum value of PA. Now graphically how we do it? We have to consider several failure planes like this at different values of inclination, you can see over here. So if I give nomenclature, this point A, this point B, I can say this point as D1, this is another failure plane D2. So AB D1 is one failure plane, next AB D2 is another failure plane, then AB D3 is another failure plane, then AB D4 is another failure plane. So for each of them I have to find out what is the value of my PA, and then we have to optimize or maximize it for active earth pressure condition. Now how we do that? Now our next point is we find out the weight of zone AB D1. So weight of AB D1, let us say that is W. We can calculate the value of W1 very easily, because once we know, if we draw, first of all we need to draw this retaining wall to the scale. That means in the space coordinate system, suppose if it is 10 meter, we have to select a certain value, let us say 1 centimeter equivalent to 1 meter, then 10 centimeter we have to draw, accordingly this cross section also, accordingly this angle also. So everything should be drawn to the scale. Once we select the to the scale, everything in the space coordinate has been drawn. Next comes another scale for selection, which is the vector scale. So how we have to find out the vector scale, I will come to that. Now from the geometry you will get what is the cross sectional area of this ABD1, and perpendicular per meter length if you take, you will get the volume of this zone, and if you multiply that volume with unit weight of the backfill soil, you will get the weight, which is the weight W1 for this zone. Similarly, I can say ABD2 is the zone which will have weight W2. Similarly, ABD3 is the zone for which we will have weight W3, and so on, whatever failure zones we are considering. Now what we do, all these things now we have to plot on the slope line to a proper vector scale. So we have to select another scale. Suppose W1 value is some amount of kilonewton per meter length of the wall. So if we say 10 kilonewton per meter length of the wall signifies 1 centimeter, accordingly you can select a vector scale, and that vector scale now you should plot on your slope line. So B2, let us say, as per our selection of the slope scale, this B2, this point D1 signifies the weight W1. Then B2, D2, let us say this much length is nothing but for weight W2. Similarly, I'm sorry, let us use the dash, because D1, D2 already I have used. So let us use D1 dash, D2 dash. This is D3 dash. This is for B, D3. So these are the scale distance for the chosen vector scale, and that we plot along the slope line. Next, after plotting that, what we should do? Now this B1 dash is corresponding to the BD1 failure plane. So we should draw a parallel line to this earth pressure line, which goes till this corresponding failure plane. So this line here to here is parallel to this earth pressure line. Similarly, next one should go from here to here. Next one should go from here to here, and like that. So these all are parallel to the earth pressure line. So wherever they intersect their corresponding failure plane, similarly we can say another line will be somewhere here. Let us say this is our D4 dash. So this is next point. Like that we will get several points among all those failure plane. Now we should draw smooth curve joining all these points. So if we draw a smooth curve joining this point, this is nothing but this line is called as Kalman line. And how this Kalman line is now helpful for us? How we will get the design value of active earth pressure for this case? That is nothing but we have to find out where we get this maximum value of this. Where we will get the maximum? We have to find out a point where it is tangential to this Kalman curve or Kalman line and parallel to this slope line. So let us say somewhere at this point it is giving the maximum value where you can draw a tangent which is parallel to this slope line. So this and these are parallel. That's what this gives a tangent at this point. This gives the tangent at this point. That point you should now connect to this hill and extend it further to the ground surface, and wherever it intersects, that D gives you the actual failure zone ABD, which gives you the maximum value of PA, and that maximum value of PA is nothing but this is your maximum value of PA. So this is the value, and how you will get? You measure this scale distance, whatever vector scale you have chosen for W in the same unit of kilonewton per meter length of the wall, the same you apply over here, find out how much you are getting out of that scale. So that will give you the design value of PA or active earth pressure. And this angle will be your that angle of alpha, which is the design value of failure plane, which gives that maximum value of PA. And what will be the zone or extent of failure zone is nothing but ABD. Okay, so that is the Kalman's graphical construction. That is how we get the design value of active earth pressure. So all the steps are shown over here. Now if you move to the slide over here, you can see here. So whatever I have described so far, the same thing is mentioned over here. You can apply this also for the passive earth pressure condition, and you can look at here various steps. I have explained these things already, that how you will get this Kalman construction done, and this is how you maximize it and get the actual failure plane over here, and this is the value of your active earth pressure. So these are all the steps I have explained just now in detail. Now next topic is how to find out the resultant force or point of application for the earth pressure. Now Terzaghi in 1943 mentioned that the Kalman solution, it only provides us the magnitude. Just now we have seen from that Kalman graphical construction, you only get the value of the PA, what is the design value of your active earth pressure, but you don't get where it acts. So how to get that point? Let us see what is Terzaghi's proposal for getting the point of application from the Kalman solution. So in this figure, if you see, after calculating and getting through Kalman graphical construction, you know what is your actual failure zone. So ABC is a known failure zone to you now, which is determined by the Kalman method, and for that zone, geometrically you can easily find out what is the center of gravity of that failure zone, which is O. Now what it says, draw a line parallel to your failure zone, this failure plane BC, which intersects that back face of the wall. So O dash is nothing but parallel to this failure plane of BC, and whatever point it intersects, that is the point where this value of active earth pressure, design value of active earth pressure will act. And its line of action, actually we were knowing earlier already, because Coulomb's theory also mentioned that it will act at an angle of delta, that is wall to soil friction angle, delta with respect to the normal to the back face of the wall. So that is the direction and point of application. So earlier we were knowing the direction of PA. Through Kalman graphical construction, we obtain the value of PA, and through this method of Terzaghi, we can find out what is the point of application, that is at what height this acts. It need not be always h by 3 as assumed or considered or obtained in Rankine theory. It may vary by considering this Terzaghi's proposal for the Kalman's graphical construction in this manner. Okay, let us come back, and in between I have received 2 queries I can see here in the chat session. I will address that so that everyone can get probably doubts clear for this kind of, like how to know the line of action of failure. Line of action of failure is which you are talking about, whether this failure plane you are talking about or the line of action of this side of soil reaction you are talking about, or you are talking about the active earth pressure. Now let me try to give answer once again for all of this. What we mentioned earlier, that in this case if we come back to this, in graphical construction, if we see that line of action of PA is known, because the Coulomb's theory says that it will always act at an angle of wall friction angle with respect to the normal to the surface. So this delta, this line of action is known, because when you know the between two material what is the delta value or wall friction angle value, then normal to the wall you can draw, this angle you can draw, and you will know your line of action of PA. Similarly, from the soil side, soil reaction also is known once you identify or take any one of this failure plane. So with respect to normal at an angle of phi, that soil reaction will work. So that way the line of action of failure is known. Various assumed failure plane for soil reaction, and for PA side it remains same, of course. Whereas the other question says that, sir, how we can decide the dimension of heel, toe and key of retaining wall? Like, I guess you are asking how to decide on the dimension of this width, this one, etc. So that I will come very soon when we will start about the design of wall portion. Now at this point, this is the heel point. From here, how to calculate the earth pressure, that we are discussing. First let us finish this, then I will, of course, in the design we will mention how to get the size or shape, etc. of the retaining wall. So now let us move again in the slide. Now you can see that concept of wall friction angle, whether it is positive or not, how it works and what phenomenon happens between the soil and wall when friction is present. So that has been well explained by Terzaghi, the effect of wall friction angle on failure surface. Now how, let us see here, like this is your rigid retaining wall, and this rigid retaining wall, by the way, before we go to that, I thought I will complete the Coulomb's analysis which I have promised to you, that for cohesive frictional soil how to analyze, because Coulomb has given only for the cohesionless soil. Now later on it got extended. So let me first complete that, then we will come to Terzaghi's. So modified Coulombic analysis for C5 soil, if we say how to obtain that, and if we let us take the active case, similarly we can do for passive also. So if I complete one, then you can easily follow the other case as well. So again let us take a sectional view of rigid retaining wall. This is the inclined down surface. Now, as this backfill is a C5 soil, what we will do here also, as per Coulombic assumption or solution, what in Kalman's line I have drawn, the similar way you can assume the planar failure plane starting from this point, heel point, at let us say some failure angle of alpha. Now this side, I said that line of action is known for PA. How it is known? Again, normal to this wall. With respect to that, at an angle of wall friction angle delta, this value of PA will work, active art pressure. So this line of action is known. And this is the weight of the failure zone. Let us say this is our failure zone ABD. And this side we have, this is the normal to this plane, and with respect to that we have soil reaction R, which is acting at an angle of phi. So all these things we have seen for cohesionless soil also. Now what is the change if it is a C5 soil? Now we will have additional two forces. What are those additional forces which Coulomb initially had not given? Those are nothing but, as this is a C5 soil, I will have a C force here and I will have another resisting force here in this direction, which is CA. What are these? This is the cohesive force, because this is the same material, same backfill soil. So one slide or one wedge is moving with respect to other. So this is additional C force acting. How you will get the C force? This is nothing but unit cohesion times the length of this BD. That will give you the C force per meter length or per cross sectional length of the wall. Similarly, this side, what is CA? CA is nothing but adhesive force. Now what is adhesive force? It is nothing but the unit adhesion between the wall material and soil material, that CA, times the length of this wall, inclined length AB, that will give you this CA force or adhesive force. So what will be the change in our force polygon now if we want to draw the force polygon, because that is the basic of Coulomb's analysis and Kalman's graphical construction also. So in this case, what are the things known? Let us see again. So earlier we have seen for W, for a chosen failure plane, we know its value as well as its direction. For PA, we don't know its value. We only know its direction. That means it will be always in this line, which is at an angle of delta with respect to normal. For R also, we know only the direction. We don't know its value. But for C, we know both value and direction. Why? Because unit cohesion of the soil is known, and for an assumed failure plane at an angle alpha, you know the length BD, so you can compute the C very well. Also, this value of adhesive force CA between the soil and wall is also known. Why? It is known completely because the unit adhesion CA will be known to you, and this length is known for the wall inclined length. So that means if we consider W, CA and CR known in terms of its value as well as direction, whereas PA and R is only unknown in terms of value, but their directions are known, we can easily draw the force polygon. So I'm sorry, so it got little inclined. Let me redraw it again. Let us don't take this one. Let us draw this as W. Now what I said, that CA force is also, W is known in terms of its magnitude as well as direction. You can always use a vector scale, knowing the value, put it this much scale is equal to this much kilonewton per meter. You can always draw this one. Now from this point, the CA value is also known, so, and direction is also known. So you can draw the CA over here because its value is known, direction is known. C is also known in terms of its value and direction. So you can plot it like this. So this is your C. Now for R and PA, you know only direction but not the value. So what we will do from here, we will draw a line which is parallel to R, and we will draw another line from here which is parallel to PA. So wherever these two meet, that gives you a closed force polygon, and that gives you the value of PA, and this is your R. So that way, this earlier it was 3-force system, now it has become 5-force system, but to maintain equilibrium, they have to be in equilibrium, closed polygon has to be formed. So this 5-force should form a closed force polygon, and by this way you can get the value of PA for a chosen value of alpha. Now again you have to optimize this with respect to the various assumed value of alpha, and wherever you get the maximum value of that PA, that will give you the design value of PA for a C5 soil. So this is the extension of Coulomb's theory for a C5 soil, how to find out the active earth pressure. Kalman's graphical construction, another thing I did not mention, that if there is some surcharge or point load acting on the ground surface, how to take care of that. So that is also important, because if you have some kind of line load is nothing but, suppose this load is acting towards perpendicular to this plane and per meter length it is acting. That means example we can take, if there is a railway track, railway line, we will have two such queue over here. If it is a monorail, we will have only single queue like this. So these are examples of line load which may act behind the retaining wall, and how that influence our calculation of earth pressure. Because for uniform surcharge we have seen how to calculate using Rankine theory, but for this kind of line load how to calculate, that we have not seen. So Coulomb's analysis, or I will say the graphical solution of Kalman, is the best way to solve this kind of problem. Then what we do in this case, the same way I will quickly draw now. This is our first line, that is slope line at an angle of phi from this point. Now from this slope line I draw earth pressure line at an angle of theta, and what is theta, that also we have defined. This is normal to the wall at an angle of delta. Your design value of PA acts, only line of action is known, value we don't know, we are going to compute that, and this is the angle theta which we have drawn over here, and that gives us here earth pressure line. Now what we should do, we have to take several failure plane like last time we have taken. When there is a line load, we have to make sure that we take one imaginary failure plane passes through this point also. So that we must ensure. So one failure plane will be like this, then another we have taken, let us say here, another planar failure plane here, another one here. So these are the various failure planes. So earlier nomenclature I can take A, B, this is let us say point D1, this point is D2, this is D3, this is D4, and so on. You can take several failure planes, assumed failure plane. Now what we do next, we, after putting everything in proper scale, as I said, to scale we have to draw, then we calculate this AB D1, which is weight W1, that we put a vector scale earlier like B D1 dash, let us say, and we put it here up to this. Let us say this is our D1 dash. Next, our ABD2. Now look at here, ABD2. Here an attention is required. Just to the left line of action, ABD2 will have W2, which is just due to the unit weight of this backfill soil. So let us say that BD2 dash. That we can plot here This is D2 dash. Now the same point D2 just next to this point load, that means line load, if we take, then we will say another ABD2 will have W2 plus Q as the total load. Now this we can represent as BD2 double dash. So this will have some distance apart from this point D2 double dash, and this D2 dash to D2 double dash is nothing but our scale of Q. Next, your ABD3 will be equals to, for this one already Q is now included, so W3 is due to the unit weight plus Q is automatically there. You cannot neglect this Q. So let us say this B D2 D3 dash, and then next let us say the telling page is out of focus. Can you check that? No, here is out of focus. Focus is different, and this is within the frame. I think they are not asking about frame. And ABD4, this zone ABD4 will have W4 due to unit weight plus this line load, which let us say BD4 dash. So let us plot this on this line. So this will be, let us say, D3 dash, and let us say this is D4 dash. So what we should do, like last time what we did, the same thing we will apply, that is from this point D1 dash we will draw a line which is parallel to this earth pressure line and will intersect the corresponding failure plane, that is ABD1. Similarly from this also we have to take a parallel to this earth pressure line which intersects that D2. Remember, for this D2, BD2, we will have two such set and they both will end up at the same line. For D3 it will go over here up to this. For D4 it will go up to this. So these are the points now through which the Kalman line has to be drawn. So how it should draw? We have to connect these points first up to this. Then along this line BD2 failure plane, you can see there is a linear jump of the curve along this line, and this jump is nothing but due to the application of that line load over here, and then again it takes a shape like this. So this is now my Kalman line for the case where this Q is acting or line load is acting. So in this case, if you want to find out what is the maximum value of earth pressure, you have to find out where parallel to this slope line, at which point the tangent you are getting on this curved surface. So somewhere here, let us say we are getting it. You can always search for it by putting a scale over here, finding out where that parallel point comes. Let us say this is the point. So then you join this to this, and that gives you the value of design value of PA, and that point you should join here with the hill. That gives you the failure point of D. So this is the value of PA, which includes the value of Q, and this is the failure plane by considering the line load. Now if you have two line load, how this picture will look like, I'll just give you a shape of it. Similar way you can draw if I have one line load over here and another line load over here, I will have a Kalman line going here, then a jump, then going here, then another jump here, then going here. So this will be the trend of the Kalman line. Wherever there is a different load, say Q1, Q2, I will get a jump accordingly along that failure plane. You have to take a failure plane only thing at that point, and this is the jump of Q1, this is a jump of Q2, and accordingly you maximize the value from this. So this way you can solve the problem of any retaining structure where close to the structure there are some line load, railway track, etc. You can take the load like this. Now let us come back to the slides where we were mentioning that this angle of wall friction, how it influences the movement of wall and soil with respect to each other. So Terzaghi, as I said, in 1943, he gave a detailed explanation how and why it happens. Let us look at here. So this is a rigid retaining wall, and when the wall goes away from the backfill side, that is nothing but is our active state that we know. So for active state, if we typically consider the case of plane, etc., exit angle is nothing but, if we consider the Rankine exit angle, this is the Rankine exit angle value we have seen yesterday. Now based on this is the lateral movement part, or if I want to explain it on this page, I can do it here in a better way. So if I have a rigid retaining wall here and an active state of earth pressure, so actual one, as I said, it is little curvilinear here and then planar with an exit angle for Rankine case is 45 plus 5/2, and when we call it active case, that purely depends on your lateral movement, either sliding or rotation. That means away from the backfill. This is your backfill, wall is going away from the backfill, that gives us the active state. Now so far we have never mentioned that among the wall and soil who goes up or who goes down. Now in this case of active state, if we want to see what we can find out in this scenario, in this case soil moves down, wall moves up. That is the common phenomenon of relative movement, and that's why if you see the Coulomb's theory, this will justify why your earth pressure should act at angle delta with respect to this plane, because of this relative movement direction. Now that resists the wall so that this slip between the soil and wall doesn't happen. And when you look from the soil side, as I said, this is from the resistance or wall side, soil side, soil is pushing this wall or providing a thrust to it and this direction, so that's why soil goes down and wall moves up. Now this case is known as positive delta angle, or most common case for the active state. Now there can be some very few peculiar case of active state where this kind of relative movement in the vertical direction as expected does not happen. What happened in that case? In that case, essentially it is also to some extent curvilinear, and exit angle 45 plus 5/2, because I said it is active state based on its lateral movement, so that's why still active. But in this case what I am mentioning over here, this is normal to your wall. Now with respect to that, your active earth pressure acts in the different direction of normal, that is in this direction at an angle delta, which is known as negative delta case. So this is known as negative delta. Why this kind of phenomenon occurs? Let us understand. In this case, who goes up, who goes down? Here soil moves up relatively, all these are relative obviously with respect to each other, and wall moves down. When this kind of peculiar scenario, as I said peculiar because this is not so common, this is more common. Why we are telling that this is still active? Because wall has moved away from the backfill. That's why it decides what type of earth pressure acts. Now depending on your upward and downward relative movement between soil and wall, what type of friction angle, whether positive or negative, is acting, that get decided. When this kind of situation happens, when suppose on the top of your wall you are putting some additional line load, say Q. Suppose you have constructed a road on top of it, or you have constructed a monorail on top of it, or you have put some kind of additional extra load which forcefully making the wall to go down rather than whatever conventional active state that wall moves up. So in such scenario, this kind of negative wall friction angle in active state may arise, and then this will be the case of negative wall friction angle for active. Similarly, for the passive earth pressure problem, let us see what happens. So for the case of passive earth pressure, typically, or more generalized case, first let me draw. So rigid retaining wall. Now we have backfill soil here. As I am telling passive, that gets decided based on how lateral movement of the wall occurs. Either it is sliding in this direction or rotating towards the backfill. That gets decided what state of earth pressure it is having. So it is passive state. Now for passive state, the failure plane typically looks like this, with an exit angle of Rankine, if we consider 45 minus 5 by 2 that we have seen in the previous class itself. And this is curvilinear failure surface, though Coulomb has considered a planar failure surface, that is different issue. But this is a typical failure surface, what happens. And in the passive case, what happens, who moves up and who moves down between this wall and soil, if we consider. In this case, soil moves up and wall moves down. That is the reason why when Coulomb's earth pressure direction for passive case we are considering, this is normal to the wall, we always take it is acting in this direction, that PP at an angle of delta. Because if you look at the relative movement of the wall and soil, obviously this force will try to resist or balance, because this is nothing but, as I said yesterday or previous lecture, that this is nothing but passive earth resistance. It is the resistance coming from the soil. It is not a pressure coming from the soil. So this case is considered as positive delta or positive wall friction. So this again positive delta gets decided because of the vertical relative movement of soil and wall. The same scenario of passive state can change completely in terms of the relative movement of soil and wall in certain cases, and in that case it can be something like this. So here it can be 45 minus 5 by 2. This is curvilinear, and here as I am telling passive, so lateral movement is towards the backfill, and this is the normal to the wall. With respect to that, if passive earth pressure act in this direction at an angle delta, that delta is known as negative delta. Why negative delta? Because in this case the relative movement of soil and wall in opposite to the positive one. So here soil goes down, wall moves up. That is the relative movement. So that's why this PP in this direction, that can resist it. So this negative wall friction angle case for passive earth pressure and positive wall friction angle case for passive earth pressure are very much common in geotechnical engineering problem. Yesterday, if you remember, I was mentioning that for retaining wall design mostly we consider active earth pressure. I have explained why we don't consider passive earth pressure below the dredge line, because of scouring effect, not computing or not having the full state of passive condition mobilized. Those are the reasons. I said application of passive earth pressure, though it is minimum for design of retaining wall as such, but it has huge application in other areas of geotechnical engineering. What are those applications? Let us take a cue from this picture, these two pictures. We can easily correlate that passive earth pressure problem is nothing but for any shallow footing analysis. If you want to do, the bearing capacity problem is nothing but a passive earth pressure problem. Suppose if we take the Terzaghi's bearing capacity solution, this is nothing but a problem of passive earth pressure. Why it is problem of passive earth pressure? Essentially, we know that if we consider this plane as an imaginary wall, what happens to this wall? Let us look at it. And if this we consider as a backfill material for this wall, in this case, when footing is getting loaded, this wall is trying to get pushed towards the backfill. That means this wall is in passive condition because its relative movement is towards this side. Now, what happens to that? Who goes up here and who goes down? For bearing capacity theory, we know the surrounding soil here goes up and this wall or this portion, it goes down. Okay, so relative movement of the wall here is downward, relative movement of the backfill soil here upward. So this is essentially is nothing but, if you take normal to this wall, we mentioned that this is the direction of delta with positive delta at which the passive earth pressure works. And as this is an imaginary wall, you know that Terzaghi's theory, this positive delta is nothing but the value of phi, because both the same media, same soil, and that is how the positive wall friction angle of passive earth pressure theory is nothing but the application to the bearing capacity theory. Whereas another application of passive earth pressure for other scenario is like this. For the case of uplift of any foundation or for anchors, ground anchors, if you want to pull it out, what will happen? It will try to fail like this. And in that case, if we assume this dotted line is imaginary retaining wall, then what happens? Who moves up, who moves down, and who moves side away? For this wall, when you are pulling it outside, in that case, this wall is get pushed towards this direction. So for this wall, it is in passive state compared to this backfill soil. Hence, this case, soil is going down relatively, and this portion of the soil along with this imaginary wall moves up, because that is the anchor uplift capacity or uplift capacity of the foundation for this kind of load, tensile load. So in such case, whatever passive pressure we consider here, that will act at negative delta. So in this case, it is nothing but the case of negative delta for passive. So these are the two great application of passive earth pressure theory, which, as I said, that compared to active earth pressure theory, their applications no way lesser. Even I will say it is much more, that passive earth pressure theory for bearing capacity and anchor uplift capacity are very important because of these applications. But only thing, we have to be little careful that amount of relative movement. So let us come back to the slide here. So what amount of relative movement will take place between the wall and the soil? So I have explained this already. I can skip here. You will get the slides anyway. It will be loaded. Now let us come back to the third method of earth pressure solution, and Terzaghi's log spiral theory for earth pressure, that is mostly known as, that is we have covered so far Rankine earth pressure theory and earth pressure theory, which are the classical earth pressure theories. Now Terzaghi's earth pressure theory, what way it is superior, because it came much later than Coulomb's and Rankine's earth pressure theory. Let us see. So the earth pressure increases rapidly with increase in the values of internal friction here for the passive condition, and in case of wall friction angle, when it is delta is less than 1/3 of the soil friction angle, then planar rupture surface assumption is to some extent correct with an within a acceptable limit of 5%, one can say, the Coulombic analysis of planar rupture surface. But as soon as it exceeds the value of delta more than 5/3, then more error occurs, mostly for the passive case. That has been experimentally obtained by Terzaghi for passive case. For active case, even that planar rupture surface for higher friction angle also can be applied or may be applied, but not for passive case. So that's why mostly for passive earth pressure condition, Terzaghi has proposed that instead of considering the linear failure plane or planar failure surface like this as done in Coulomb's analysis, let us consider a curvilinear or log spiral failure surface. And that's how the Terzaghi's log spiral theory came into picture. So if we see the Terzaghi's log spiral theory, as I already mentioned, this is more applicable or more correct for passive case, because in that case actually planar rupture surface does not occur for higher friction angle. So this is for the passive case, this is rigid retaining wall, and this is the failure surface which has been assumed by Terzaghi. Here again you have to do an optimization or minimization of the design value of passive earth pressure to get the design value by assuming different failure plane like this. Now, what are these failure planes composed of? So Terzaghi said, let us consider it is a composite failure surface. What does it mean by composite failure surface? That means it is a combination of a log spiral failure surface followed by a planar failure surface. That's why it is also called as composite failure surface. Now, in this composite failure surface, the portion BD is nothing but a section of a log spiral, and the portion DE is nothing but the planar failure surface, which is again Terzaghi considered equal to the Rankine failure surface. That means its exit angle or angle of failure plane at this point will be nothing but 45 minus 5/2, because this is the passive state. So then what way Terzaghi did the analysis, you can see over here, like A, B, D, E is the total failure zone. And within that, if you look here, you can take an imaginary retaining wall, drawing a vertical from this point D where your log spiral ends and your planar failure surface starts. So draw a vertical line here which gives you the point F on the ground surface. So this DF is nothing but an imaginary retaining wall which is in the state of Rankine earth pressure. That's what Terzaghi has assumed. And how this assumption is valid to some extent, you can say that this is a vertical wall. Smoothness, of course, it has been assumed over here, though interface friction here it will be nothing but equals to 5 because same soil. But this zone FDE is nothing but assumed as Rankine passive zone. So on this Rankine passive zone, now you know what is your Rankine passive earth pressure. That means this PP R is nothing but the Rankine passive value. It is acting at 1/3 from the base of the wall. That means from this point D, that means from the ground surface, it is at the 2/3 of this height of total FD. So this value of PPR for an assumed failure surface you can easily get. Once you get this value, what are the other unknown parameters? Let us see. Now, why Terzaghi has chosen the log spiral failure surface and this section BD? There are two reasons. One is, first of all, through his experimental studies, he has obtained that mostly the failure surface which is formed for passive condition of earth pressure is close to the shape of a log spiral. And the additional advantage when he started proposing this theory, he got by considering the shape of a log spiral, because you know the resultant of any two forces acting on this log spiral will always pass through the focus of the log spiral. What does it mean? That means that force, which is a soil reaction force, which is an unknown parameter for us, earlier we have seen in Coulomb's analysis, it will not create any moment if you consider the moment equilibrium about that focus or origin of that log spiral. So for that origin of the log spiral, these are the soil reaction forces, you know, resultant of that will always pass through the log spiral. That is the property of log spiral, and that's why it doesn't contribute in any moment equilibrium. Now, what is W? W is nothing but the weight of the failure zone, not the complete failure zone, but the zone A, B, D, F. Why only A, B, D, F this zone has been considered? Because remember, once they're telling audio is not clear. There is local problem there. Okay. So you can see here that this zone of FDE is a Rankine passive zone, which has been now replaced completely by this Rankine passive earth pressure PPR acting on this wall. So that means once you find out this force, no need to consider this zone at all, because you have replaced all the forces, because this value came from the equilibrium of all the three forces acting on this wedge that we have seen in previous class itself. Now you have to find out the equilibrium of all these forces acting on this failure zone A, B, D, F, and among those, as I said, the PP, its direction you know, because it is acting at an angle of delta. This is positive delta case, but its magnitude you don't know. W, you know its magnitude as well as you know direction. Magnitude you know because for a chosen failure surface this zone is known. PPR, you know its value as direction. This force resultant of these two, you know only the direction but not the magnitude. But when you are taking equilibrium about the focus of the log spiral or the center point of the log spiral, you have to take equilibrium of these three forces where W is known, PPR is known, so only unknown PP you can easily obtain. So that is the way Terzagh's log spiral theory works, and to find out the passive earth pressure. So with this we have completed the various earth pressure theories and several cases of phi soil, C5 soil, submerged soil, and also for layered soil you can apply it by considering the different layer properties and accordingly can calculate. Now if we want to design a gravity wall, what are the aspects and what are the conditions we should select for design of gravity retaining wall? So for gravity type or rigid type retaining wall, there are various types of retaining wall: gravity wall, cantilever wall, counterfort wall, sheet pile wall. So various types of rigid as well as flexible retaining wall. Now let us first concentrate on gravity type retaining wall and show it over here in this document camera. So typically a gravity retaining wall will have some shape something like this. Now, as some of you were asking, what should be the dimension of these things? Now, dimension of your height of retaining wall that you get from your requirement, that is what level difference you want to maintain. So from that you know H. Now the point is how much this value of B or width of the retaining wall you are going to propose. To start with, for gravity retaining wall, typically the value of B chosen is within the range of about, let us say, 0.3 to 0.4 times of H. Okay, so that is the typical starting point of your width of the retaining wall. And now what angle you should use here? There are different possibilities. These values of slope angle is typically considered either 1 in 10 or 1 in 12. So these are typical angle by which the taper of the retaining wall is chosen. And how much you will get the weight of the wall, that means how much weight you have to provide for stability. Now that we should cover in the design of gravity retaining wall. So for gravity retaining wall design, now if we look for this wall, if we want to design, there are 4 aspects of failure. So what are those 4 aspects of failure? We should check, that is 4 criteria, I will say, which we should consider for design of a gravity retaining wall. So first criteria is, from the stability point of view, the sliding failure criteria. Next criteria is overturning failure criteria. Third criteria is rotational slip failure criteria, and fourth criteria is bearing capacity criteria. So how these things are coming into picture for a stability of a gravity retaining wall, let us look very quickly and in a simplified fashion what happens for each of these criteria. Sliding, as I said, that your wall, it should not happen that, suppose if I am designing it for active state where movement of the wall is in this direction, and for all practical purposes you will have some amount of embedment, because that is for stability you need this one. So for this wall, if it moves in this direction, that is active state, but it should not slide completely, leading it to a failure. So that is nothing but the sliding failure criteria. Why the chances of sliding will occur? Because you remember on this side you have a lateral thrust of PA. So soil is pushing the wall in this direction. So that lateral thrust you have to compute based on your earth pressure theories. Any earth pressure theory you can take for the first time to calculate the value of earth pressure which is acting on your wall. Based on that you find out your cross section, you design it. The weight has to be sufficient enough so that it does not keep on moving like this. So that is nothing but your sliding failure. So how we will do that? So this is your disturbing force, essentially earth pressure force, which creates the sliding. And because of your weight provided here, you will have a reaction here, and that will give you a sliding force, a resisting force for sliding over here, which is nothing but mu times of N. Mu is the coefficient of friction between the wall and the base soil. So from this you have to make sure that you have some kind of factor of safety with respect to the resisting force to the sliding force. So this is, we call factor of safety with respect to sliding, the first criteria. So here what we get, so factor of safety against sliding, essentially you can write resisting force is nothing but your S force here, and sliding force is nothing but your PA force here. Now some people say that we can take some resisting force from here which is acting in this side, PP. Because if wall moves this direction, this is PP. But yesterday I have explained it is better not to consider this PP for design. First of all, for amount of movement which occurs for the wall to generate the complete active earth pressure is not sufficient enough to generate passive earth pressure. So if you take full passive earth pressure, you will grossly do an unsafe design. And if you take a partial one, that is good, but many times what happens, because of level difference, if you have water body or something else, in future this portion of below dredge line, this can get scoured or removed out. So in that case the PP formation and calculation will not be correct. So it is advisable to take only the S value as the resisting force, not to add this component of PP as a resisting force in the numerator. Now what is overturning? If we see the next failure criteria, so for overturning, it is nothing but, as the word says, that we should not allow our wall, again let us say the active condition we are considering, active state, it should not rotate about this excessively so that it completely failed. So that rotation also we have to find out the stability of the wall. And why this happens? Because here again your main contributing or disturbing factor for this overturning to take place is nothing but your earth pressure, lateral earth pressure. Because of this pressure, wall tends to rotate about this point. So when it is trying to rotate about this point, who gives the stability? Again, your weight of the wall, what you are going to design, that will give the stability. Like in sliding also we have seen, because this generate, if you take moment about this point A, this generate a disturbing moment and this generate a stabilizing moment. So that way this weight of the wall will give more stability with respect to overturning. So if you take and design the wall section properly, that is proper width, this width, etc., with taper angle, etc., depending on what wall material you are using, you can always maintain the here also factor of safety with respect to overturning, which is nothing but the ratio of your stabilizing moment. Which moment I am talking about? As I said, it tends to rotate about this point A. So about this point, whatever moment of forces stabilizes the wall that you have to take, that is this way, and the overturning moment, that is the moment which causes the wall to overturn. So this is the PA which is causing the wall to overturn, overturning moment. So this factor of safety also has to be ensured so that your wall does not fail in overturning. Now third one, I said that rotational slip failure. What does it mean? Rotational slip failure. Rotational slip failure is nothing but, suppose if you have a wall section which you have designed like this, and considering your sliding and overturning stability of the total system like this, perfectly fine, like this, and say this is a sandy soil and you have designed this wall considering the previous two criteria of sliding and overturning. So it is safe in this layer of sand, etc. But within a finite depth, suppose there is a very soft layer. Let us say this is a very soft clay layer present over there, and then again a stiff layer. Let us say stiff clay is present over here. So what can happen in this case? It can be stiff clay or maybe even dense sand, anything. Let us say a stiff layer essentially, but in between you have a soft layer. So in this case, the entire wall can fail, not due to sliding or overturning acting on this wall at this point, overturning and sliding in this direction, but it will fail from this point altogether. The entire mass will rotate. So this is nothing but your rotational slip. So this rotational slip will occur because of the existence of soft clay layer within the finite distance from the bottom of the wall, and that failure will occur through the interface of that soft layer to the dense layer. So this is the overall or rotational slip. We sometimes call it as overall stability also. And fourth failure, I have mentioned that it is the bearing capacity failure. So what essentially we have to make sure that your gravity retaining wall, which you have designed for previous three criteria, suppose you have ensured that everything is safe and all those things, then because of your weight, this side your PA is acting, active state again let us consider W, you have resistance, frictional force, this is your normal force acting over here. So due to the action of all this load, what will happen? The pressure distribution below the base of this retaining wall, you will have more pressure over here and less pressure over here. You can easily estimate that from taking the imbalance of the moment, because this side you have more pressure because you are pushing the wall towards this side of the soil, so more pressure will come from this side, whereas less pressure will come from this side. So if we see the pressure distribution below the base of the wall, this is what it should look like. So this is P minimum pressure, here it is maximum pressure. What are the things we should check? This P minimum should never be negative. That means you know that soil cannot take tension, so this will be always like this. It should not cross and go like this. That means it cannot take tension. So it should be checked that P minimum is a positive value or compressive value. And what else we have to for the bearing capacity? This P maximum value, this P maximum must be less than equals to your allowable bearing pressure for this soil. So whatever is your allowable bearing capacity, you find out for the soil, and this maximum pressure which is getting generated, that should never exceed that value of allowable bearing pressure. So with these four stability criteria, one can have a section of the design of retaining wall. Now let us come to the slides over here. Yes. So these are various pictures of retaining wall. You can see the stone type, gravity type retaining wall. You can see the failure, example of failure of retaining wall. So this shows why the design of retaining wall should take proper importance among geotechnical engineers or civil engineers in general. And if we see that what are the design requirements, essentially for the gravity retaining wall, it has to resist the earth pressure by their weight. So essentially all the stability what I have mentioned, mostly it comes from the self weight of the wall which you are going to design. And it should be safe against that sliding and overturning, and the maximum pressure exerted on the foundation soil should never exceed the safe bearing capacity or allowable bearing capacity for the soil. And the minimum pressure should never go to the negative. The third failure criteria which I have mentioned here, that rotational slip, of course that is a special case. That only happen if you have a very soft layer in between or within a finite depth from the depth of the retaining wall. That is not always. So that's why it is not commonly mentioned in many books or even many lecture slides. So what are the parameters which are required for the design? Like for actual design, these are the information you should have with you, like unit weight of your backfill soil, angle of shearing resistance, the cohesion intercept or C value, and angle of wall friction. Now knowing this basic input parameters for your backfill soil, what next step you are going to do? You compute the lateral earth pressure as well as bearing capacity of the soil. So once you get the lateral earth pressure, then you can obviously get the lateral earth pressure either by using Coulomb's theory or by using Rankine theory. And if it is an inclined wall, I have mentioned how to compute the resultant of this Rankine earth pressure and this force of that triangular portion and get the resultant earth pressure acting on the wall. So anyway, you can use Terzaghi's theory also for computation of earth pressure. Once you get the earth pressure, if it is for the active state for which you are going to design, and most of the cases of retaining wall, as I said, it is for active state, the weight of the wall, WC, you have to find out. And for that selection, you can start with the basic dimension of B in terms of the fraction of H, which is 30 to 40% of height of the wall, as I have mentioned. And then these are all the earth pressure theories. We have discussed them extensively already. This is Coulomb's earth pressure theory. You can select any one of them and look at here. Some books that calculate this PP, but as I have mentioned, for actual practical design, most of the people don't consider this PP because this full PP will never occur because of the amount of displacement we generate. The active state of earth pressure will not generate the full passive earth pressure. So better to ignore that. Now for the no sliding condition, that means you want to make the design wall safe against that sliding failure, we have to maintain a factor of safety of 1.5. So whatever equation of factor of safety against sliding I have given, that is sum of all the resisting forces divided by sum of all sliding forces, should be greater than or equals to 1.5 at least to ensure the sliding stability of the wall. And whatever forces are coming that I have mentioned, you have to just take component of those things accordingly and do this computation of factor of safety with respect to sliding to make sure that your designed wall section with a W weight of the wall WC should give such a way that it gives the factor of safety against sliding equal or more than 1.5. For the next case, that is for no overturning or protection against overturning failure, the similar computation I have already mentioned, that factor of safety against overturning is nothing but sum of all your resisting moment divided by all your overturning moment. This also for stability or design criteria we have to maintain more than equals to 1.5. So 1.5 is the minimum factor of safety for overturning also we should ensure. And when you are doing that, take all the possible forces which are involved, and again I want to mention that don't consider this zone of PP acting over here, though some books are some slides they mention like this, but for practical design we ignore this component. But take the component of PA accordingly and take whichever component is stabilizing. You can see this PA is acting at an angle. It is not purely horizontal. If it is purely horizontal only if it is a vertical face and Rankine earth pressure theory. Otherwise, in all other cases, it will be an inclined one. So only that horizontal component of that earth pressure is causing your this disturbing moment or overturning moment, but the vertical component actually gives more stability because it gets added to this component. So accordingly you can use the term and get the factor of safety values in such a way that it gives more than equals to 1.5, such way that your weight of the wall gives the stability for the entire retaining wall. Now for no bearing capacity and no tension criteria, that as I have mentioned, you will get the bottom pressure below this wall, like you will get the point of application where this is acting, and if this resultant acts within the B/6, B is nothing but width of your this bottom, and from the center line within B/6, if your load resultant load passes through, that eccentricity maintained here is within B/6, then no tension will come into picture. So this is P max calculation and this is P minimum calculation. You have to see P minimum should not go to negative and P maximum should be within, must be less than your allowable bearing pressure, and for bearing capacity, as we know, a factor of safety of 2.5 has to be used. So by applying that factor of safety of 2.5, this design of retaining wall with respect to bearing capacity also needs to be completed. So with this, we will stop our today's lecture here. Maybe a quick question, some of the quick questions I can take to discuss further. So we'll meet again day after tomorrow, that is on 4th as scheduled from 2 to 4. Thank you. you.